All right, everybody, welcome to Beyond the Mat. It's Friday, April 22nd, 2022. We must be here to discuss WWE Friday Night Smackdown, live from Albany, New York. Decent episode tonight. Not too much actually materialized, but there wasn't too much egregious stuff either. Okay. We did have a contract signing for the I Quit match at Backlash. Madcap Moss had a little bit better showing tonight as a babyface. The Lumberjack match didn't really live up to what we wanted it to be, in my opinion, but we did see a little bit of development in the women's tag team picture. So there was some development, not too much exciting stuff. We had a heel turn happen in about 10 seconds backstage. If you weren't watching, you might not have noticed it, but overall I thought it was pretty good. I'm joined tonight by Kyle.
I'm doing great, Matt. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man. Pretty busy work at week. Enjoyed the show tonight. Didn't think that it was that eventful or exciting. I was expecting some materialization with Roman Reigns that we didn't get, but other than that, what did you think?
Well, I felt pretty much the same thing, pretty right down the middle with this show. You know, not too great, not too horrible. Some things I liked, some things I didn't. I mean, they did advance a couple storylines a little bit, but there was a lot of repeated stuff too. So overall, 2.5 out of 5 if I had to rate it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I didn't really think it was much worth more than 3 out of 5. 2 if you're being generous, but let's get into it here in a second. All right, so tonight we were live from Albany, New York. Before the show, we heard news that Reigns was announced for the main event at Backlash, so of course we were all excited to see what was going to materialize there as far as were we going to find out about an opponent for him. We didn't. And we also found out that Becky Lynch is going to return to Raw next week. Coming into the show, Cole hyped up all the matches of the night. Then Adam Pearce came out to welcome us to SmackDown. He introduced Charlotte and Ronda. He also brought out Drew Gulak a little bit after that, who had the contract for them to sign. Gulak actually started this one out pretty funny. He teased that he had a PowerPoint presentation about the rules of an I Quit match. Charlotte then cut him off, said she knows the rules, and there really aren't any. She says she just has to make Ronda say I quit. She says all the ways she can make her quit. She can do it with the figure 8, the figure 4, a boot to the face. Then you tapped out chants start to break out from the crowd. Charlotte then says she was just fixing her bra. Ronda says she's going to make Charlotte quit, and she's going to take her baby from her, a.k.a. the Women's Smackdown Championship belt. Charlotte then overturns the contract signing table to reveal a kendo stick underneath, attacks Ronda with it, but then Ronda gets the better of her, starts beating down Charlotte with the kendo stick, then puts Drew Gulak into the Piper's Pit position, nails the Piper's Pit, teases an armbar, says give me the contract, then puts him in an armbar anyway. Gulak doesn't let go here. I mean, what's going on? Are they getting rid of Gulak because of this? What do you think about this, Kyle?
I've got no idea what they're doing with Gulak, actually. He looks like he's becoming a comedy character, I guess. They're just going to have him get in the ring and get beat up by Charlotte repeatedly, and then Ronda repeatedly, and then some other girl. I don't know. Guess that's what they're doing with Drew.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if, like I said before, if he's going to do this interviewer role and they're going to use him to create heat with heels, but Ronda's a babyface and she just put him down, so it's a little embarrassing. Now, it's kind of funny, but at the same time, I don't know where the hell they're going with it. This is kind of the type of thing they do to people before they let them go, so that's why I'm a little bit worried for him about that. But as far as the segment goes, though, I did think that Charlotte, again this week, as well as she did last week, she was way better with her delivery of her promo here, especially compared to Rousy. Rousy was very monotone and disinterested again. So I thought that this segment, for what it was worth, the effectiveness was there. as far as what Charlotte did. Now, Ronda's another story. It's pretty boring just to see her sit there and mumble about how she's going to take her baby away and really not put any energy into it. But I thought that Charlotte did. She interacted with the crowd. She's doing the best she can with this. And having Gulak in there at least brings some color to the whole segment, because other than that, after seeing Charlotte and Ronda for so long, it's been getting a little boring. So at least they changed it up a little bit this week. Now, Charlotte really likes to hide those kendo sticks down there by the ring. Happened
That's
several times.
Good heel move right there. Good heel move.
Typical heel stuff by Charlotte. And that's, her promos are always typical basic heel promos, but I do feel that her delivery's been a little bit better and more engaging recently. But what'd you think about the segment itself?
Well, I think it shows that Ronda really needs a lot of help, and that's why they keep bringing in these other people. They bring in Drew Gulak and Adam Pearce as well, and she needs it. And I think they're adding a lot. Like, I think Charlotte's carrying this just by her own promos and her own presentation. She's doing a great job of delivering her lines. She's not stumbling over words. I just don't believe Ronda. I just don't. Every time she speaks, I'm like, you are not the baddest woman in the world. You're not even confident in what you're saying right now. And so I just don't believe her character at all. So I'm glad Drew's in there. He's hilarious. He adds a lot of professionalism, really, when you think about it. The way that he's playing his character is very well done. He's hilarious. And I like, Charlotte's bringing back the she only did it once, but I'm glad she just did it once. I thought it was actually kind of funny. She put that in there, and I loved that she kept saying, I beat you at WrestleMania. I beat you at WrestleMania. Because, it's true. And one thing that I love about heels is that they're annoying because they usually tell the truth. They're usually telling you the facts of what has happened, and it just gets under people's skin. So, but Ronda's the worst promo in the business. I'm sorry. She's just the worst promo, and I can't stand it. So I'm glad that they're adding more people to help her out.
Yeah, Xia Li knocked her promo out of the park compared to Ronda Rousey tonight, and Xia Li had 7 seconds to say she was no longer protecting other people. She's protecting herself, which was effectively a heel turn for her, especially when we get into later what they have planned for next week. We definitely will have that confirmed. But
Ludwig Kaiser, I can't even understand what he's saying, but at least I still believe his character.
Right. Ronda Rousey just brings no energy and nothing to the table. Thank God they had other things going, like the kendo stick and something for them to do. Otherwise, this would have been another snoozer to start the show out. But
Drew saying Titantron was pretty funny too. I liked that.
Yeah, and he used to have that shtick back in the day, several years ago, where he would do these PowerPoint presentations in segments, and they were really funny. So they were calling back to that. So I thought that was a nice touch. They're trying different things to call back to things and make this Charlotte and Rousey thing a little bit more enticing to watch than it was leading into WrestleMania, because that was like a complete shit build going into that. And this is a marquee match for the next pay-per-view, so I appreciate the effort,
Yeah, exactly. I just, as far as Ronda goes too, me not believing her character, she put the laziest armbar on Drew Gulak too. Like, before she even hit the armbar, she was basically just holding his hand, and he was like writhing in pain. He's like, and Ronda's basically just holding his hand up. It looked horrible. Like, it's not believable to me. So, the quicker that this feud is over with and Ronda gets off the screen, the happier I'll be.
I know. Unfortunately, she might be around for a while, especially if she wins the fucking I Quit match. You know what I mean? But
everybody loves her, so.
Yeah, but then again, maybe if she wins, then that just makes way for somebody else to beat her. I don't know. I don't know what they got planned here. As far as Gulak goes, I don't know what they're doing with him. If they keep doing this funny stuff where he comes out acting like a goofball and then somebody beats his ass, it's pretty funny, but he's more talented and obviously has the acting skills to do more than this. But maybe if he does well with it, he'll earn himself a better role someday, like happens with a lot of guys. All right, so next up we got Butch. Again in a match with Xavier Woods. Butch, Sheamus, and Ridge Holland have been feuding with New Day since before WrestleMania. They feuded at WrestleMania, now after WrestleMania. This match started off with Woods on top early with some knees to the face, hit a lariat on Butch for 2. Then Butch got the upper hand with some mounted punches. Butch goes for a flying crossbody, but Woods ducks it, sends Butch to the ringside area, where Woods then hits a suicide dive before getting distracted by Holland and Sheamus, so Butch can rebound. Butch then worked over Woods' arm a lot, gets back to work controlling the match in the center of the ring with an arm hold on him, stomps Woods in the ribs, and then locks in another arm hold even tighter. Woods eventually fights out with some chops. They run the ropes. Woods ducks a lariat attempt by Butch with a baseball slide, pops up with a shoulder block, followed by a leg sweep. Then Butch reverses a fireman's carry by pulling Woods' ear. At this point, McAfee's comparing Butch to Mike Tyson for the ear biting. Butch hits a nice-looking release hangman's neck breaker suplex, but then out of nowhere, Woods nails a springboard DDT and a backwoods roll-up for the 1-2-3. So again, we have Butch losing to Woods here. Butch freaks out after the match. He exits into the crowd, takes out a security guard just for the fuck of it, and is called a petulant, spoiled brat by Michael Cole. Butch is being shown as a child here, but he's really putting on some decent technical in-ring work that I think is being overlooked by his character a little bit, and I'd really like to see him get a better push as far as what he does in the ring and not all these childish antics. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think he's going to get better chances. This is just a little starter feud for him with the New Day. I can't wait for it to be over, honestly. It looks pretty stiff, too, honestly. These shots between Xavier Woods and Butch are pretty stiff, punches and kicks. But I do like watching Butch wrestle. I really love his style. I watched him when he was Pete Dunne, and he has this submission style where he's constantly trying to hold a submission or pick an area of the body and just put it into and put the pain up to 11. So I love it. I like the little things he does, like eye pokes, and he bit his ear right in this one. Like I love that stuff. He's a dirty little scrapper. It's really enjoyable to watch. And there's a couple things I liked about this match. A couple more things I didn't. I thought it was kind of sloppy. There's some moves that just didn't combine between the two of them, between the Xavier and Butch, which I thought was weird because this isn't their first match and they've been doing this recently. So, it's a little sloppy, I thought, but it was basically a lot of offense back and forth, submission stuff, and then that surprise DDT with Woods and then the roll up. I don't like the backwoods roll up. I'm sorry, but I don't think that a babyface should have a finisher that is a roll up and have a special name for it. That doesn't make sense to me. At least this time he hit the DDT going into it. So it made a little bit more sense this week. When you hit somebody with a DDT, I mean, you're smacking the top of their brain, you're smacking the top of their head. So they might be dazed for a second. That's a good roll up opportunity. But I didn't like it last week where he basically just caught him in a surprise and rolled him up. So they need a different finish than this backwoods roll up business. I don't like it. But what I did like was, Butch does a really nice job of expression on his face. You can always see when he's getting hit, it looks like it hurts. When he's hitting other people, it looks like it hurts even more. So I think he's really good at selling. It's one of the reasons I enjoy watching him wrestle. And he did a really nice release suplex in this one. He lifted up Xavier, and it looked like it was going to be a suplex where you flip them onto their back, but instead he just kind of releases them halfway, and then they drop on their back. They do a little almost 180 spin and drop on their back, and it looked really good. That connected between the two of them really well. So I liked that. One other thing I just want to point out too before I move on from this match, though, is Xavier Woods is no longer King Woods, which I guess if they're going to drop it, then that's fine. I'm okay with that. But what he was wearing today looked like he was almost like demoted, like he was demoted to like the level of a pawn or something like that, or like almost like a jester. I don't know. It was really strange. Like his clothing did not match that of a King or an Xavier Woods. So I don't know what he was doing with his gear there, but whatever. If I had to rank the match, I'd give it a pretty low score overall because I didn't like the finish. I thought it was kind of sloppy.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's like the finish came out of nowhere. I thought Butch had an upper hand with that release suplex he had. And then the next thing I know, I look up and Woods is messing around in the ropes, hits a springboard DDT, which in the past, back in the day, a DDT was a devastating move. That was a finishing move. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nowadays.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's a serious move. I like when you do that into a roll-up. That makes sense.
Yeah, nowadays it's like a goddamn DDT is a transition move when it used to be a finisher for, Jake the Snake Roberts or something like that. But to your point, having the tornado DDT into the roll-up actually makes it a little bit more of a respectable way to finish the match. The typical roll-up and having a name for it and claiming it as your move, like Woods does, is embarrassing to me. I don't know anybody that would own up to a roll-up being their signature.
Yeah, and what do you think of that being a baby face choosing that? Isn't that more of a heel move?
Well, that makes it even more annoying. That's what makes the New Day so fucking annoying, is that they do all this shit that's just annoying. And it doesn't fucking add up to what baby faces should do or what professional wrestlers should even do. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of where I am with that. I think this whole feud's a waste of time. It's nice to see Woods working with Butch. I'd like to see Butch actually win. We know what happens when he loses. He freaks out, throws a tantrum, but he outworked Woods in this match.
For sure.
It keeps coming down to a stupid thing happening in the end, but again, we saw that play out last week. So why not this week? Butch doesn't make a mistake at the end and finishes him after hitting that big suplex. That was my sort of disconnect with the match. You like to see things sort of progress from week to week, and I didn't see that much. If anything, I saw a regression because we ended up with Butch getting lost in the freaking crowd, and he wasn't even there to be a lumberjack for the lumberjack match.
Yeah, exactly. You talk about progression. I mean, he went missing last week and he went missing this week. That's not progression. That's doing the same thing. I at least expected when he went out into the audience and he threw like one security guard over the rail or the guard rail, I thought he would at least attack one or two more people that they had planted. Why not? Why not have like one or two security guards that are just kind of sitting there and he goes up and attacks them, and looks even more vicious. But instead, he literally just runs away and then stands there all angry.
Yeah. I mean, he did wipe out that one guy, but yes, I was expecting him to take out some more frustration on some other people, and it didn't happen. So, I guess that's all they had for him. But to me, I would just like to see him position better. Maybe we're getting there because he is playing his role well. But again,
that's kind of how I feel about that whole faction, really. The Fight Night faction. Or what did they call them? What's their new name?
I didn't catch any new name.
Three of them?
I still refer to them as Fight Night, man, because that's all I ever hear Pat McAfee scream. But the thing about all that is, yeah, Ridge Holland and Butch are both doing a good job, but they're still tied to Sheamus. When are they going to break away from him? I'd like to see Butch kick Sheamus's ass eventually, because that's when they break up. Eventually, that's where it's going to go. So
yeah, that's going to be a hell of a fight too.
Yeah, a big bruiser and a little scrapper. Good matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked Sheamus too. I like his bruising style. I've always liked watching bruisers fight, so I can't wait for that match.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. All right, so then backstage we see Ricochet with Aaliyah talking about how he's going to be a fighting champion and how proud he is of his IC title belt. He gets walked up on by Jinder Mahal and Shanky. Jinder says that he needs to defend that belt. So Shanky then asks if he'll defend it against him. Ricochet obliges and sets up a match for next week. What'd you think of this segment? Are you excited to see Shanky and Ricochet?
Not really. But hey, you know what? As long as they keep feeding people to Ricochet, I'm all right with that. He's a very good defending champion right now. And it's remarkable because we haven't been seeing that in a long time. So it's nice to see a champion actually get repeated wins and defend. So that's pretty cool. Plus, it was nice seeing Aaliyah. She looked great in her gear today.
Yeah, she definitely had probably one of the best outfits of the night. I agree wholeheartedly.
Is it just me, or does she flirt with like every wrestler? Just saying.
It definitely seems that way. But as far as the Ricochet defense, I think all those mid-card belts, they need to be on TV every week or every other week in this case, at least if they're going to use the off week to set up the next week's match. Because when you have it on somebody like that, the idea is they're trying to be pushed and elevated. So I'm all for a match with whoever the hell challenges him. I don't care if it's Shanky. We know it'll probably be a short match. There's no way Shanky's going to be the IC title holder, but it'll give us a chance to see Ricochet defend his belt on TV. That's what it's meant for.
Yeah, it's a good matchup between a giant like Shanky and a flyer like Ricochet. So it should be fun. I don't expect Shanky to do much in the match. Ricochet will be stealing the show, that's for sure.
Yep, that's for sure. That's what he does. Now, speaking of giants, we had Ludwig introduce Gunther again for a squash match. Yep. Gunther in a squash here against Theodore Goods. And this was real quick. He made short work of this one, ended it up with the big power bomb and the stack pin. I don't understand why every single foreign wrestler has to be a heel, but that's a WWE thing, I guess. How do you think Gunther did tonight in his squash match?
It is what it is, man. You got exactly what you expected. Teddy Goods didn't get any offense in. He went for a drop kick and just dropped himself. That was pretty funny. Gunther just stepped out of the way. But that power bomb that Gunther gave him to finish off the match, that was a hell of a power bomb. Teddy literally bounced off the canvas. Like his body bounced up and Gunther had to hold him down as he was bouncing off. So that was pretty awesome, pretty powerful. And then those chops that Gunther gives, they sounded like gunshots, like they were echoing throughout the arena. So, it's nice to see Gunther. I love him. I love watching him squash people. So, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a quick, 4-minute squash, something like that. So, moving on to the next.
Yeah, I thought the match was fine for what it was. We'll see what they do next with him. Not much more to say about it than that. Next up, we had Riddle versus Jey Uso. Riddle obviously with Orton ringside, and Uso had his brother Jimmy ringside. This was a pretty good match here. Riddle, before the match, talks about how he hit his RKO last week. He wants to hit another sick one. Then we see McIntyre backstage appearing. Riddle says he and Orton will be lumberjacks to help him out in his lumberjack match later on in the night. Drew says anyone who stands up against the Bloodline's bullshit is good in his book. Orton then says that McIntyre and he are good as well. Then we see RkBro entering to a big pop, biggest pop of the night. Before I get into the match itself, what do you think about this backstage interaction? And also, what do you think of the match? And then we'll go through it move by move.
The communication between Drew and Randy was pretty cool. The looks on their faces they were giving each other, like sizing each other up at first and thinking, well, I don't know, we're not on good terms right now. And it looked like they were going to say some pretty mean things to each other, but Drew basically said, I'm making amends with you, and Randy was cool with that. That was a nice little interaction between them that goes way back. They've known each other for a while and they've had storylines together before, so that was nice. I liked that interaction between them. And do you think this is setting up a possible future match with, on one side, you're going to have RkBro plus Drew McIntyre versus the Usos and Roman Reigns? It's got to happen, right?
Well, I bet for damn sure that's a dark match that has happened or will happen routinely. And I'm going to actually be at a house show tomorrow night. I'll see if that's part of the show. But I definitely think that it's more definitely a foreshadowing of Drew and Roman's eventual match. I think we all know it's a foregone conclusion that Drew's going to be the opponent for the UK pay-per-view, but who knows about Backlash? So I don't know how they're going to work Drew into Roman if that's a plan for Backlash. I don't know what the hell they're doing with Roman for Backlash for that matter, but it was nice to see the foreshadowing of Drew saying he hates the bloodline and stuff like that. I think you're definitely right. We'll see this 6-man tag match, hopefully on TV and not just in dark matches, but who the hell knows exactly what consequence that match will have, if you know what I mean.
Right, and more about that too when we get to the final match of the night, the Lumberjack match.
All right, so next up, real quick, we see Xia Li backstage for about 7 seconds. She says she's tired of protecting other people because nobody protects her, so now she's going to protect herself. So this was effectively a heel turn for her. Next week, she's going to be in a segment with Ronda Rousey. So to work with her, obviously, she would need to be a heel. So we got a heel turn here, happened in about 5 seconds. What do you think of this one?
Honestly, there's nothing else to say. I mean, after her promo, I was just kind of like, what? Okay, I guess you're a heel now. You know, there's not much going on with her character in the first place anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. I feel like they're not utilizing her enough. They put her in these weird segments where she comes in like after a match because somebody's getting beat up by a bully or, you know, getting submitted after a match, and she fends them off, right? But we've never gotten anything more than that, and we haven't seen her since her first match either. So it was nice to see her, but I don't know. It's 7 seconds of her saying, I'm going to protect myself. So I didn't really get much out of it.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you. We have not seen dick from Xia Li at all. The first thing we see since the last time she walked out of a locker room because she's the one who protects people from Natalya is now that she's turned heel. That's fine. I mean, I've seen her perform at quite a few house shows and dark matches. She's pretty good in the ring. We'll see where this goes if it's not anything more than just a vehicle to put a weak heel up against Ronda Rousey ahead of this pay-per-view. But on the other hand, we have Flair doing a similar thing with Aaliyah next week. So I honestly think that this is just a way to get Xia Li and Aaliyah a little bit of TV time before they hit the road for the European tour, which they are going to be on for the next 10 days. And that's why they taped 2 episodes tonight. But other than that, man, there was nothing at all to this. It remains to be seen whether it's important or not. If they're just turning her heel for the segment next week, and this is a total waste of 10 seconds. If it ends up that she makes some ground as a heel and is an opponent for Raquel and things like that, then it makes sense. But if she's just turning heel for the sake of setting up a segment with Ronda Rousey called Beat the Clock, then it's pretty stupid. Regardless, we got the RkBro match. I should say Riddle versus Jey Uso here, but RkBro came out together. Might as well have been an RkBro match because the amount of freaking pop they got sounded the same as when RkBro comes out. Goes up against Jey Uso.
Yep, and Riddle had flying fish that came out during his intro this time.
Yeah. Not the crickets coming out of his ass like normally or whatever.
So important for us to note what little insect comes out when he flips his sandals every single week. So important.
It's funny though.
Sorry,
man.
I'm being facetious.
It's all good. So back and forth this match starts out before Jey gets into control with the shoulder block. Then he starts beating Riddle down a little bit. Riddle dodges a corner attack by Jey, hits a knee to the face followed by a gut-wrench suplex. Uso gets back in it with an elbow to the face, beats down Riddle with some stomps. Riddle fights out of it, goes for a knee, but Uso rolls to the outside. Riddle's looking for a suicide dive here, runs right into a fist to the face. Then Jay takes advantage of this, throws him into the ringside steps, backdrops him on the announce table just like Randy Orton does to everybody. We roll into a commercial, get back from it. Usos in the middle of the ring, hits an enziguri on Riddle. Riddle then fights out. They trade some huge hard-hitting blows before Riddle gains control with a boot. A couple of flying elbows in the corners before he misses a Broton, which is basically a senton attempt. We then get both men down for a minute. Back up, Riddle reverses a back suplex, hits a knee to the face, then a floating bro for a near fall. Looks for the bro to sleep, but the Uso rolls him up for a 2 count of his own. Riddle then goes for a draping DDT, nails the draping DDT, starts to hulk up. Jimmy Uso tries to distract from the apron. Orton then grabs him, hits him with the backdrop on the announce table. Riddle looks for an RKO, but Jay reverses it into a pop-up neck breaker that looked pretty sweet. Got a close near fall out of that. Yeah, real nice looking move there. Then Jay focuses his attention on Orton, who's ringside. This allows a window for Riddle. Hit a running knee. Uso not fazed by that, though, and hits a super kick. Goes up top for the Uso splash. Riddle gets his knees up and rolls him for the 1, 2, 3. So Riddle ends up walking away the winner of this match. Again, a fun match. How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, pretty fun. You know, it's almost feels like a repeat of last week, like I'm seeing too. But they changed the name of the person between Jimmy and Jay. But it was a lot of striking back and forth. You know, they were doing a lot of punching, a lot of kicking, a lot of elbows, a lot of knees. And I enjoy watching that kind of fight. So it was a pretty good fight to me. The pop-up neck breaker by Jay was really nice. When Jay went up to give Riddle the splash and then Riddle countered him with his knees up, that looked really good too. So yeah, it was a pretty enjoyable fight. I really don't have much to say about it, to be honest. Not a lot happened, I guess you could say, in this match, but it was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, there's like really no consequence of this other than the fact that we know that Riddle can defeat both the Usos in singles matches. And usually when this happens, when they have these tag teams splitting up and one guy facing the others in the single matches, the team that wins the singles matches is the team that loses the eventual tag title match. However, prior to WrestleMania, we were seeing this where Naomi and Sasha were pinning everybody and the champs were getting pinned left and right, and they ended up losing their titles. So who knows what this means as far as the overall picture thing. To me, I don't think it actually means anything. I think it's a matchup that WWE knows that the house is going to like. They need that matchup. They need the rating, so they put them on there. It absolutely is a filler, as you're saying. It's absolutely something that we don't necessarily need to see after seeing it last week. It's absolutely something that they should put on Raw, a 3-hour show, instead of this 2-hour show where they need to utilize that time for other people who aren't getting it. But I'm getting into a rabbit hole with all that. The bottom line is, what I took away from this match is that Jey Uso is a far better in-ring performer than Jimmy is. Because when you compare these last 2 matches, both with the same opponent in Matt Riddle, I thought Jay really did a great job. I thought Jimmy was a little more sloppy last week. Both were well-worked matches. Jimmy's a great wrestler too, and they're a great tag team, but I thought that Jay looked a little bit better than Jimmy did last week.
Yeah, I could see that.
They both kind of played out the same way, except for we didn't have Riddle winning in the middle of the ring with Orton, like the happy father coach on the field at the same time as the refs counting the pin. But other than that, not much of consequence here. It just pissed off the Usos.
It was nice seeing like Roman backstage, though. That was cool.
Yeah, that was after this. But yeah, so Roman was backstage during this match getting all pissed off that the Usos were losing. So it's interesting to see the dynamic there, that he's sending the Usos to do something, and as of now, they're failing. So we'll see what the repercussions are that within that faction itself. But other than that, do you have anything else on this match, this feud, the tag unification thing?
No, I'm ready for the tag team match. I'm ready for the two teams to go up against each other. Enough of the single stuff.
Yeah, I'm ready for the unification match. Get the contract signed, which is happening now or has happened and will be aired next Friday. Spoiler alert. So I'm interested to see what happens in the contract signing segment. You know, who ends up attacking who and who stands tall, because a lot of times that's a big indicator of what is to come. So next up we get Sasha Banks, Naomi come out. They start gloating about their tag title. They start talking about how nobody can beat them. They just got rid of Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, cause them to self-destruct. They get interrupted by Natalya and Shayna Baszler, who remind them that they didn't actually beat them at WrestleMania, and we end up getting Natalya and Shayna Baszler challenging for the tag team titles on the women's side. What do you think about this development?
Pretty good. Good promo by Natalya and Shayna. They delivered pretty well here. And Natalya's got to bring up her 3-time Guinness World Record holder comment again. It's always funny. I always laugh whenever I hear her say that, and I'm like, you know, nobody really cares, Natalya. You know that, right? Nobody cares. But anyways, I like Shayna too, and her saying that, I think she said they're going to stretch and break every bone in their bodies. Oh, I love that. You know, I love when Shayna goes on a tear and starts punishing people. So let's hope we get some of that. You know, I like Naomi and Sasha, but it'd be nice to see them, you know, really get challenged by this team.
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup, man. I mean, I like the brutality of Shayna Baszler. I like the fact that she talks that way. It makes it intriguing. I thought that they worked well as a tag team before. They had the heart attack finisher they did on people. They worked well together. They're both heels. This match needed to happen. They needed to have another opponent. I think that we're continuing to see good things done with the women's tag teams because we have good champions right now, and we have opponents who people actually give a damn about. So,
I mean, there's nobody else for them to fight, so it makes sense we see these two.
Exactly. I'm all for this matchup, and I'm, after this, interested to see where it goes and who else they can build up as a women's tag team to take on the champions, whoever they are. Most likely they're going to be retaining this. Sasha and Naomi are, but if they don't, I'm interested to see where the tag picture goes for the women, because they do have this last team to dispose of, but after that, who do they have? And that's the big question. What is the follow-up?
And after this, do they move towards the split, the inevitable split of when Sasha Banks gives Naomi the backstab, of course, her signature move, and turns on Naomi and becomes a heel again? You know what's coming.
I think that that's coming once Ronda Rousey becomes champion. So we have a babyface champion, then we have Sasha turn heel, and then we have heel Sasha go for the championship. That's sort of what I see playing out long term, but who the hell knows if it actually happens.
Yeah, and we know they're going to split up, and we see partners do this all the time. And speaking of a split up, you know, next segment we have is the backstage promo with Madcap getting congratulated by Happy Corbin.
That's right. Madcap's back there in his same gear again. I thought we might see a gear change, but Corbin approaches him and says, I think my mentoring really paid off. Corbin says he will be the bigger man and forgive Madcap Moss. Now Moss rubs his face and says, we did share good laughs, but that isn't going, I'm not going back to that. I'm not going back to being your sidekick. He said, there's as much chance as that as you growing full head of hair back. So they're trying to get Madcap some more babyface support here by putting him with Corbin. Match starts out. Waistlock takedown by Moss on Angel Garza. He gets in control here with some hard forearms, charges a rebounding Angel with a flying elbow, then sends Angel to the ringside area. Moss shakes his butt. I thought that was a little bit ridiculous with him shaking his butt. Again, we're trying to see some babyface antics out of Moss, not this heel crap. Angel comes back in. Humberto holds Madcap back so Angel can get in control with some chops. That doesn't last long because Madcap reverses a crossbody with a fallaway slam, hits some elbows in one corner, spear in the other corner, takes out Humberto, who came up on the apron, then nails a shoulder charge. takes out Angel with that, followed by his punchline finisher for the 1-2-3. So he made quick work of Angel here. Corbin attacks Moss after the match, hits the end of days on him, then steals the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy. I thought Madcap worked a very good match here, much better match than he did before. Nothing special, but his babyface timing was better than it was last week. I felt like he was a complete heel last week, but he had a little bit more energy and his mannerisms were better this week, separate from the butt shaking and things like that. Very smart to rub Corbin up against him in these things to help remind people that Corbin's the one we hate and Madcap's the one that we need to cheer for. I mean, I know that, but I don't know if everybody in attendance does. And I just think that putting an asshole like Corbin with anybody makes that person more of a sympathetic person that you can get behind. And they did a good job this week, regardless of the fact that we basically saw the same match play out after this week. The involvement of Corbin before the match and the involvement of Corbin after the match, I really think added something to this and helped solidify what they were trying to do. I wish they did it last week. Put Corbin in this shit last week, and then you don't have to fucking do it this week. But separate from that,
now you got to have Madcap fight both Los Lotharios, not just one of them.
Yeah, you do. I guess you need. Well, why doesn't he fight them both at the same time like Ricochet did?
I'm sure that's coming. I'm sure it's coming.
I think we're seeing something between Corbin looming. Maybe we're going to get a bigger match for Madcap against Corbin at the pay-per-view or something like that. I have no idea. But what did you think of Madcap tonight? Did you think that he was a little different with his babyface tactics? Did he still come off as a heel? Did the gear piss you off? Because it did me. Did the shaking the butt thing look like a little bit too much? Did he do a good job? What did you think?
I've got no problem with it. Honestly, I think it's not heel to me. It's more just silly, childish. And I think that is more just to try to get the youth and the young people to enjoy his character, to find his character funny. Like shaking your butt, like kiss my butt, kiss my... That's like a 5-year-old thing, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a heel thing. I think if it was a heel thing, he would be saying "kiss my ass." He would try, and he would probably do something a little more serious though than just saying, "kiss my butt."
Let me clarify.
But
when I refer to his tactic, his mannerisms as heel mannerisms, I'm more associating whatever the fuck he's doing with the character he played when he was a heel. Shaking his butt, that's fine. But that's stuff that he would have done as the Madcap heel character. And I feel like when he changes to a babyface, I would expect him to do different things. I understand what you mean, and it makes sense that he's a comedy act and is more supposed to be catering to the younger crowd. That makes complete sense. But then again, when he makes the turn to babyface, I'm sort of expecting a little bit more of a humility out of him, you know what I mean? But besides that, go ahead on what you were saying about it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good match. Madcap's really fast, running rope to rope. It's fun to watch. He was in control for most of it. He didn't really have to fight off Angel too much. Angel didn't get much offense in there, so yeah, he was taking control of the whole match and looking very strong. Yeah, it was decent. I like Corbin's involvement. Happy Corbin's a great actor and is doing a great job of being an absolute dick. The beginning promo, Madcap's joke actually was kind of funny, where he said there's as much of a chance of them getting back together as him growing a full head of hair. I'll admit I popped a little bit for that one. It's the first time I actually laughed a little bit at a happy joke. Can't believe I'm saying that right now, but it was entertaining. And then when they ended the segment with Corbin beating the crap, or no, I shouldn't say beating the crap, but attacking Madcap, giving him the end of days, and then walking out with the trophy, that was nice. The trophy, walking out with that was a nice cherry on top to the whole "I bet you guys hate me now" thing. So Corbin did a great job with that. And of course, the most important part of the segment that you just happened to skip over, the kiss cam. How can you skip the kiss kiss cam, man. Los Lotharios kiss cam. It's what we all came here for, right? To see him kiss some random, or I should say planted person in the audience. What's the odds that Aaliyah is going to be that person someday, right? She's always flirting with all the wrestlers. She's going to be kissed. Or wait, no, it's going to be somebody else. Can't be a wrestler. What's the odds it's going to be Denise Salcedo? That's who it's going to be randomly one day, right?
She's too fucking boring, man.
I'm just kidding, of course. But yeah. I mean, I'm over this kiss cam business. We can nix that. They need a better entrance song too. I'm not really into their music. Like, it's really just one note that just goes boom, 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 and then there's like Spanish lyrics over it that I can't any understand. So I don't know. They're great wrestlers, and I feel like they're giving this gimmick that just I don't really care about. I don't care about the Los Lotharios gimmick, but yeah, they're good wrestlers.
They are good performers. I've raved about them before. I'm not going to do it again because nobody wants to hear me talk about Humberto and Angel. But at the same time, I do think that they're getting ready to heat them up and get them out, hopefully turn on each other. And we can see a push by one of them because they definitely are locked into this tag team where all they're doing is fighting against whoever the up-and-coming baby face is every week and taking turns doing that. And it's just, there's not much more to it than that. And after a while, it gets repetitive, like a lot of things do in WWE. But I think that's all the time we need to give Madcap Moss here. Good on WWE to get Corbin involved here, to get us some sympathy on Madcap Moss because he needed it. Other than that, moving on, backstage we saw Zayn and Roman Reigns. So Sammy knocks on Roman's locker room door. Roman doesn't seem too interested in anything Zayn has to say. Zayn's gushing over Roman. He tells him that he acknowledges him. He also says he ran into RkBro backstage and Drew McIntyre. Says they were getting chummy together and saying some negative things, insulting things about Roman's family. After Zayn leaves and Roman basically doesn't give him any acknowledgement whatsoever, tells the Usos that he wants them to go get his name out of RkBro's mouth. He seems pretty pissed off about this, and that sets them up to be lumberjacks for the upcoming Lumberjack match. But before that, we had a Lacey Evans vignette. Before we get to that, what did you think of this backstage segment with Zayn and Roman?
Not a lot really, I guess, happened in the promo, but it was so well done by everybody that was involved. Like this, even the Usos standing in the background, their body language is great. Paul Heyman had this like shit-eating grin on his face while Sammy was talking. And then when the camera zoomed in, Sammy crouched closer to Roman to like get a little closer to talk to him a little bit closer. So Paul actually got a little bit closer too, and I thought that was funny because like it just goes with like his kind of sleazy ratty character that he has. He's just got to make sure that he can hear everything that Sammy's saying. So well acted by everybody involved, and even though Roman didn't say much, the way that he delivered his lines was fantastic. So I enjoyed the promo of the night easily.
Yeah, man, I thought the acting in this was outstanding. I thought that Heyman was really good, the way that he was sort of saying it's Sami Zayn, and everybody was real quiet, not really recognizing Sami Zayn as anything. And I thought he was terrific in the segment too, sucking up to Roman the way that he was and really seeming desperate, like he really wanted help. So, well done all around by everybody here for the time that they were giving. Next up, we have Lacey Evans in another vignette. Even more emotional music in the background this time. Now, this time, she's talking about how her mom's not around and her dad's a drug addict and all this stuff, how she taught herself to be strong and all these things. Now, to me, if I'm not mistaken, I thought last week she told us that her father wasn't around. Now she's telling us this week her mother wasn't around. I don't know which one it really is, but to be honest with you, I think they're making this feel very contrived and forced on us, giving us essentially the same promo 3 weeks in a row. I was a little bit moved by it the first week, but now that we're 3 weeks into this thing and the material really hasn't changed, it's feeling very forced and it's feeling very disingenuous, and I'm starting to not feel invested in Lacey Evans at all. But what do you think about it?
I'm just as confused as you. I feel exactly the same, where like the first week I was like, oh, this is actually a change in character. This is compelling. I can't wait to see where it goes. And then the second week comes around, and it's kind of a repeat of the first week. She's talking about, and again, she's saying that she had to run away with her mother, away from her father, correct? Is what her story was for the first 2 weeks. And then this third week, now she's saying that her mother wasn't around and she was living around her father, but her father had these drug problems and was high and passed out all the time, and she couldn't get help going to the prom. I mean, come on, Lacey. Is that really the worst problem in the world? Is that really what you're trying to have America cry over you? Is that you couldn't get a ride to prom or whatever you said? Like, you couldn't get help with prom? Come on. You actually went to school. Do you realize how much of a privilege that is alone? Okay? You had a place to live. You had a parent, apparently. I don't know if it was one or two, because you keep confusing me if it was a mother or father. But stop giving me the sob story. I'm done with it. You had me the first week. Second week, you repeated the same thing and started going, I don't like that. And then you completely lost me this week. So she's crying. She's saying she's unbreakable or whatever. I'm done. I don't get it anymore. I'm disconnected.
And she ends it with the same fucking line every time.
And the fake crying. I could totally tell they're fake tears. Come on.
Nobody's better than her, but I'm sorry.
Maybe Cody, but
that's not the line. I fucked that up. She says, no, she's not better than anybody else, but nobody's better than her. What the fuck does that mean, and why do we have to end the thing?
I don't know.
Time?
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's just, again, just change up the damn promo. Give her some different lines. Why give us the same damn thing every week and try to make it even more emotional every time? They got us well the first week, letting us know she was a Marine. It seemed authentic, and now they're going into all this other bullshit. The story's not even consistent at this point. Who the fuck is writing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, they have writers for this, and if I'm right about the fact that she said last week that her father was nuts and her mom had to drive her all around and do different shit for him, and now all of a sudden her mom's not around and her dad is the one who was there, but he's passing out with cigarettes. Like, what is it? Which one is it? I get the part about being a Marine and all that shit. That's impressive. I mean, who can't respect a Marine? But other than that, it sort of gets to the point where if you're going to say I'm a Marine every fucking week, what else is there? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the fucking United States Marine Corps. I'm trying to say that there's more to her than being a Marine, and all this other shit is just repetitive. So they either need to get her back out on television doing something and stop this repetitive vignette shit, or come up with new material.
She made me not care anymore. I can't believe I'm saying that.
I know, and the biggest part for me that I need to have on the wrestling show is I need to care about the characters. Otherwise, I don't care about what happens in the fight they have, which happens to be choreographed. So now we get to the Lumberjack match, Kyle. Who were the Lumberjacks tonight?
Well, we had RkBro and Shinsuke Nakamura. We had the Viking Raiders. We had Mustafa Ali was out there. We had the New Day. And then we had heels Sheamus and Ridge, but no Butch, apparently. I guess he's still lost in the audience. We had Jinder, Ant Mahal, and Shanky. I think that's everybody. Did I mention the Viking Raiders?
Did you mention the Usos?
Well, they came out at the end. I was just going to mention that. Yeah, they had their own music entrance. Everybody else just kind of, shambled their way out to the ring. But Usos got their own actual music entrance.
Yeah, so all those guys are out there, and then Usos come out just as the match is about to start. Zayn tries to escape at first, but the New Day throws him back in. Drew takes Sammy to the woodshed here before Sammy sends him ringside over the top rope to get beat up by Sheamus and Holland. Commentary's talking about how the Lumberjacks aren't doing what they're supposed to do every time they beat up McIntyre. Back into the ring, Drew hits a Glasgow kiss headbutt, then a pair of nice-looking belly-to-belly over-the-head release throws, followed by a neck breaker. Then he kips up, sets up for the Claymore. Zayn ducks it, rolls out of the ring. RkBro attempts to put Zayn back in the ring, but then they're wiped out by 2 super kicks by the Usos. All the Lumberjacks at this point begin fighting right out front of the ringside area. Zayn tries to get away, but Drew gets him out of the crowd, starts to bring him into the ring, but gets cut off by Jinder Mahal. This allows Zayn to escape through the ring, out the back of it. Drew then gets pissed off and says, "What the fuck, I'll just take out all these Lumberjacks." Hits him with the suicide plancha over the top rope, knocks out everybody. As Sammy's evading through the crowd, Adam Pearce comes out, says, "This is not acceptable. You will be in a steel cage match next week against Drew McIntyre where you cannot run." So that's set up for our next SmackDown. On top of this, after the match, Drew's attacked by Shanky and Jinder. They get the better of him for a minute before Drew overcomes them, disposes of Shanky, hits the Claymore on Jinder, stands tall as we go off the air. How'd you feel about how the Lumberjack match played out? How do you feel about the setup of the cage match?
Kind of saw it coming, saw this cage match coming a mile away. Everybody knew this was going to happen.
I think we said that
in our last podcast. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. And so, yeah, I mean, it wasn't really much of a match either. It was more just Sami Zayn trying to run away from Drew again. And he got thrown back in the ring a couple times by the Lumberjacks. But then again, Drew stepped out and then the Lumberjacks attacked him as well. So I guess they're kind of even in that sense. But when Drew jumped over the top rope and took out all the Lumberjacks and then Sammy ran away, I thought for sure maybe there'd be something a little bit after that or something. I didn't hear a bell ring or anything, but then Anna came out and announced the cage match. I was like, okay, here we go. I felt like it was kind of rushed. I don't think they had enough time to do everything they wanted to do. So like match wise, there wasn't really much of a match at all. It was, Drew giving Sammy some really nice chops that rang out through the arena again. There was a amusing part where the heels and the baby faces on the outside of the ring, the Lumberjacks, started like yelling at each other, and eventually it broke out to a fight where everybody was fighting each other. That part I guess I enjoyed because it was fun to just watch people brawl. But I don't know. There wasn't really much to this. I don't know why Shanky and Jinder had to pick this spot to attack Drew. They're just trying to get some heat on Jinder, I guess, is the ultimate goal. So they achieved that, but I don't know. Not much of a match to me.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think that they knew that they were taping 2 episodes tonight. They knew they wanted to go to the cage match with this. They had the Lumberjack match set up. It's entirely possible that a couple things ran long and they had to compress this final segment. And knowing that they had the cage match to go to, this may have, taken a little bit of a downturn because of the time constraint. I have no idea, but it was not anything compared to what I thought it would be. I thought we would get more of a match out of it, more of the Lumberjacks getting Sammy into the ring to actually wrestle with Drew McIntyre. I'm fine with Drew McIntyre kicking somebody's ass and over the head belly to bellying somebody across the ring. I like how they're positioning him and making him look strong. I just hope that when we get the cage match, that we get a match and that Sammy doesn't just try to climb out every 5 seconds. Because quite frankly, even though that he couldn't beat Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania, I still believe that he's one of the top guys on SmackDown and he shouldn't be positioned as a complete coward, which is what he's doing in this situation. And On the flip side of that, I understand they got to do something to heat up McIntyre here. But at the end of the day, I want to see a match between the two of them. So if Pierce making this cage match is what we need to see a match actually happen, that's fine. I'm also interested to see, because of the fact that Roman was pissed off about whatever interaction that Zayn told him that McIntyre and RkBro had, if Roman gets involved in this match, because in a minute we're going to go over what they have planned for next week, and none of it includes Roman Reigns. And after next week, we're about a week away from Backlash with no opponent announced for Reigns, and somebody's confirmed that Roman Reigns is booked as the main event for Backlash, which I don't know is entirely true or not, but if it is, we don't know who the hell he's going up against. So that's basically what I got out of this. I don't know what they're going to do with the cage match. That's the end of SmackDown. We can go ahead with our ratings and our awards here for the night. All right, so we'll start out with match of the night. Kyle, what'd you have for your best match tonight?
Jey Uso versus Riddle. That was fun. We were just smacking each other around, a lot of punches and kicks. I had a fun time watching it. You?
Yeah, I agree, man. This was definitely the best worked match of the night. They gave it the most time. They made good use of it. Even though it was sort of a repeat of last week, at least it was a different Uso. I agree. We'll sweep that one. That was definitely the best match tonight. What'd you have for the best move?
It was a toss-up between two different moves. I really liked the pop-up net breaker that Jey did on Riddle in that match I was just talking about. But I got to give it to Butch. That was a really nice release suplex that he gave to Xavier Woods. I should say nice on both of them, really, because Woods has to take the bump, too. So, yeah, that was my favorite. What was yours?
Mine was the Butch move that he hit, the release hangman's suplex that he hit on Woods. Definitely, by all accounts, the most devastating-looking move I saw tonight. Butch hit that on Woods. Too bad he couldn't pick up the win, but after that, we're going to look at worst move of the night. What was your worst move?
Whatever Ronda was doing to Drew Gulak, some weird like holding of the hand. I don't know. That was I didn't like it.
Yeah, that was a little awkward looking. I had the Woods roll up, because how can you have a roll up and actually call it a move? Call it the backwoods. It's ridiculous. And the thing
is, they need to get rid of that.
The New Day's supposed to be, I guess, this comedy act that caters to the attention of kids, and calling something a backwoods isn't exactly child friendly, if you ask me, knowing what backwoods are used for. So, anyway, moving on. Best gear tonight. Who'd you have for best gear?
I gotta give it up to Aaliyah. She was looking good in her all white gear.
I agree with you, man, but they just didn't give her enough time. I'm going to go with Sasha Banks. She's always the best dressed, in my opinion, and until somebody impresses me more, I can't dethrone her.
Yeah, I think you've got her, the last 4 weeks in a row or something?
On SmackDown and Raw now. It used to be hard on Raw, right? But now that she's on Raw, I can just... Easy.
Deservedly so.
So who'd you have for the best promo?
Well, I would say I really liked all of the acting in the Sami Zayn and Roman promo. So I'm going to go with that.
All right. I'm actually going to say something that I'm not used to saying. I thought Charlotte's promo was the best, just because the whole segment amused me with the Gulak stuff. I think my bar is a little bit low when I see Rousy and Charlotte out there, and I just felt like Charlotte delivered her stuff in a way that made an impact on me, and she's done that 2 weeks in a row. So, I'm grading on a curve here, because I expect good promos out of the bloodline. I don't from Rousy or Charlotte, so I'm going to give it to them this week. I think they did a good job opening up the show. And finally, we have worst promo.
Okay, so I feel like there was a lot to choose from in this episode of SmackDown. I wasn't very happy with some of the promos. I couldn't understand what Ludwig Kaiser was saying, so that was an option. I obviously didn't like Lacey Evans' Vignette again, which is a repeat, but somehow did a 180 on her parents. I don't know. I'm still confused. Xia Li apparently only takes 7 seconds to change from a babyface to a heel. So that was left me confused as well. But number one has to go to probably the same person that has the number one worst promo in the last 4 weeks, Ronda Rousey.
You don't think it's exciting if I just say, I'm going to make you tap out? I'm going to make you tap out. You're going to tap out? Oh, no, this time I'm actually going to make you say, I quit.
No, I think you're talking too loud. You got to talk quieter.
I mean, seriously, man, this is what Rousey does in front of however many thousand people are in. Who the fuck goes to perform and acts that way? That's exactly why she really needs to be in a program with Becky Lynch, because Becky Lynch will be able to carry that promo better than Flair does, I think. But I'm not going to get down the rabbit hole on that. I can't argue with you for saying Rousey had the worst one. Kind of hurts my feelings because I said that her segment was the best, but she certainly wasn't the part that made it the best. She's probably the part that brought it down from what it could be. So, but that's what we had for SmackDown anyway, man. Next week, we got some stuff lined up. We already know what it is because they were taping it tonight. We got a cage match with Zayn and McIntyre. We got Ricochet taking on Shanky for the IC title. Raquel's going to be in a squash match, her first match on television. We're also going to have...
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too, man. I'd like to see her in more than a squash match, though. But if that's how they're getting her started, that's fine. Then we got tag unification contract signing for that. So we'll see some interaction between RkBro and the Usos. Naomi versus Baszler after they set up their women's tag championship match. They're going to do this ahead of that, so we'll see how they interact. We also have something going on again with New Day, Sheamus, Holland, and Butch. Not really sure what the fuck it all is, but there's going to be something with them evidently planned for that. It's probably what we refer to as a compressible segment. Depending on time, it'll be shorter or longer. And then to end it, we have a beat the clock between Ronda and Shotzi. As we previously mentioned, this is to give TV time to Shotzi. And then we have Charlotte and Aaliyah in the beat the clock. TV time for Aaliyah, who hasn't seen the TV other than her flirtation with Ricochet tonight. So what do you think about next week's SmackDown card? Anything exciting to look forward to?
Not really, to be honest.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of baloney to me. I don't know what the hell this beat the clock stuff's all about. And I was talking earlier about Xia Li and her heel turn as if she was the one against Ronda in this beat the clock thing, but it's actually Shotzi, unless the run sheet's wrong. So Xia Li's heel.
I guess I'm excited to see that. Yeah, I haven't seen Shotzi in a long time. I love Shotzi, so you know what? I changed my mind. I'm excited to see Shotzi wrestle. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and that's, one of those things where you look at the card, there's certain shit that's repetitive. Then there's certain shit that's like, hey, we haven't seen Shotzi on Aaliyah on TV at all, except for Aaliyah's, 20 seconds with Ricochet tonight. Shotzi's just coming back from a back injury. So I'd like to see what they do. I don't know what this beat the clock shit is. Hopefully it's actually a wrestling match so that Shotzi can perform in the ring with Rousey and Charlotte can perform in the ring with Aaliyah. But whatever it is, at least they're getting them on TV. Don't care for New Day and anybody, much less the Butch, Holland, and Sheamus group. Naomi and Baszler, I'm cool with that. I'm sure they can put on a good match. They're two of the top women performers at Tag Unification contract signing. We knew that was going to happen. It's something we got to get through. Raquel in a squash. I'm excited to see her. Not that exciting for the Ricochet and Shanky match because it's going to be essentially a squash for Ricochet. And then the cage match, I'm interested to see what the hell happens in it, but only time will tell. Those in attendance...
I hope they get a lot of time for that one. I hope they get a lot of time for the cage match.
Yeah, those in attendance tonight already know, if you're listening, So you can email us and maybe let us know what happened. But we don't want to spoil it for the listeners. So we won't get too much more into it than that. But I think that about does it for tonight's episode of SmackDown, man. I think overall tonight, I initially thought maybe 3 out of 5. But to think about it, all the repeat segments, all of the shit that we've seen before, and the lack of development. Okay, Roman Reigns was on the show, but all he did was really sit back in the room. We saw him on the TV for a minute watching the match and getting disappointed. He said nothing, which was part of the segment, but then said, go take my name out of their mouth or whatever the hell he said. So I just think that we need more star power on the show. Starting off with Rousy and Flair, it just doesn't do it for me. So to me, this is 2.5 out of 5. I'm not going to go below average because they did advance some things. There was 1 or 2 good matches on it, and they used some variety this time. You know, we had Gunther in a squash tonight. Last week we had a Gunther promo or a Ludwig promo, which we couldn't understand. The week before that we had a squash. So at least we didn't have 3 squashes in a row. And things like that I appreciate. Now, I don't appreciate that every time Zayn's out there, he's running through the fucking crowd. I think that's a little bit fucking weird. And I want to see where they're going with that. But again, average episode, not what you would call can't miss TV. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're basically doing 2 episodes in one, and we only got to see half of it. So that's all I got to say, man. You have any other final thoughts?
No, I just would like to say I'm excited for next week Raw, and something to look forward to. Can't wait to talk to you on that day. The only thing I would like to add is, whoa. Can't wait to see you, Becky.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Becky Lynch either. And one thing about Raw that I did want to bring up and I wanted to discuss was the fact that we have Cody Rhodes opening and closing every single show. How long is that going to continue for? And the more important part of what I'm about to say is that his music, his entrance starts with there's more than one royal family in wrestling. And the more I hear that, the more I think, no shit, Sherlock. How about the Rock's family? He was a 3rd-generation superstar. How about the Jarretts? How about the fucking Hardys? How about the McMahons? How about the Von Erichs? How about Roman Reigns' family? How about the whole fucking Samoan group? What is that really supposed to mean? Because to me, the Rhodes family was Dusty Rhodes, Dustin, Goldust, and Cody. What are they compared to all these other wrestling families? And why is the royal family and wrestling thing something that is so blown up with Cody? Think about that one.
Yep, I can't wait to discuss it on Monday. Listeners are going to have to tune in.
All right. Sounds good, man. Other than that, guys, we are on all podcast platforms. Follow us on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE. Shoot us an email if you have anything to ask. Matt@BeyondTheMat.com. Kyle, you got anything else to say for our listeners before we get out of here?
Have a good night, everybody. Peace out.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoy the show. We will catch you next time. Take care.